standard size pillowcase, you will need the following materials. Always have my snips nearby. I'm going to have 4 cones of coordinating thread for my serger. I'm choosing gray because there's a lot of gray in here. You'll need either pins or clips. I find are very helpful. And then you'll need 3 different types of fabric. Types meaning different colors. So for the main part of the standard pillowcase, you'll need 3/4 of a yard. Then you'll need 1/8 of a yard for the accent band. And for the outer edge, 1/3 of a yard. Now before I sew the fabrics, I go ahead and starch and press them. And when I do the accent band, I go ahead and fold it wrong sides together to make a firmer crease. This has saved me a lot of headaches. So the first part of putting this burrito together is that you want to lay the main fabric down, making sure that this is the top and we're coming down the bottom. So we don't make sure that the print, if you choose a print like this, is actually in the right position. Then you're going to take your accent piece, and remember you ironed it wrong side to wrong side. I am leaving the selvage on because that will give me some space there on the serger, so I'm not worried about that. And we're going to match edge to edge with the main fabric and the accent fabric. And then I like to go ahead and use my clips to go ahead and clip those in place. Now that I have this clipped all the way down, as you can see here, I'm going to take the outer edge fabric, and because this design can go either way, I'm not concerned about how this print will go, but it's going to be right sides to right sides. And again, I'm going to line up the edges and clip those. I rolled up the center longer edge of the pillowcase and wrapped the outer band around, and now I'm clipping those together, matching all the edges, and also making sure that I do not clip the stuffing, as I call it. That way it will not be sewn when I use a serger. I tend to over clip things, but that's just for my peace of mind. You may have more precision or more confidence, maybe it is, but that's just how I've always done that. So I will go along here and get this last clip. If you have extra fabric over here, don't worry about it, because after we do this next step, we can always kind of square it up if you have some mixed match widths of fabric. So now you have the roll inside. For an extra measure of security, because I don't want this up here, I'm going just to kind of clip the ends. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam from the left needle. I've already run some scraps through my serger to make sure that I had the correct tension for this cotton fabric. And the wonderful thing about this pillowcase is a 3-seam pillowcase. You can't beat that. So it's a super fast project. Gonna make sure that I'm not getting that inner burrito filling. That first seam is done. Now I'm going to unclip the filling, is what I call, inside my burrito. on both ends. So we have the first seam done. Now you're going to take that filling, as I call it, inside of our burrito and gently pull it out. It's going to turn the outer fabric right side out. I used to make these a lot for my Etsy store. I had to be careful with licensed print, but I did a lot of fun themes, a lot of Santa Clauses. I did some for even Halloween, and they sold really well. So these are a lot of fun to make. So when you take it all out, you will have this. One seam to put the entire top together. Now I'm going to press this very nicely, and we're probably going to restarch it for an easier way to sew up the other two seams. So go sew that, or excuse me, go iron that, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to put the rest of the pillowcase together. So we have the top nicely pressed. I add a little bit more starch to be able to do this next part. Now we're going to take the pillowcase and we're going to fold right sides together. So you should have the inside on the outside here. Now we are going to take where these two seams here are, and we're going to nest them. A tip that I received when I was taking my first real quilting class, I think is really good for this particular lining seams up, is to, if you know those tongue and groove type of tiles or some puzzles that you have, and you put them together and you can feel where the end starts and the beginning starts. That's what we're going to kind of do here. We're going to nestle it up, and we're going to do kind of a tongue and groove feel where we can feel those kind of meet up together. Then I like to use an actual pin to put that in place, to line it up on the actual stitching there. And then what I like to do, this is completely not necessary, but I like to take the tops and line those up, because for the bottom seam, it will be easier to make sure that the top is actually aligned so that you'll have a better bottom seam here. So I'm going to take the time to do that. When I've done it in the past, it has proven to be a much neater pillowcase than when I have skipped these steps, because I'm generally doing these on the week before Christmas. So this particular pillowcase is for my oldest nephew, who is a senior in high school. I have been doing a pillowcase for him since he was 2 years old. So this is my 16th pillowcase that I have done for him. When he went to his big boy bed at the age of 2, they got bunk beds. I made him a pillowcase. And so this is a bittersweet moment for me, because he'll be going off to college next year, and I'm not sure if he'll want Aunt Celeste making these for him anymore. But I've tried to save, I usually get a yard of this fabric here, and you only need 3/4 of a yard. I have done that for a few years now. I'm hoping to make him a quilt of all the pillowcases that I've made. I wish that I would have done that from the very first pillowcase that I made him. It was a Dr. Seuss print, and I can't find it anymore, but that would have been a lot of fun for him to, at least for me, maybe not for him, to have reminisced of all the pillowcases that I've done for him. So now that we have this lined up, we're going to go ahead and pin or clip the rest of this side seam all the way down. So I like to take a binding clip and put it right before we get to this thicker part That way I can make sure that this is secure. As my needle is coming to this edge, then I can pull it off and I know that this is going to be lying flat. And then where this accent band comes together, it's a little thicker. So I'm going to make sure that I put another binding clip there so that it doesn't twist and turn as I'm moving the fabric, and then it won't secure both ends of the accent band. Now again, I left my selvage on because I'm going to let the serger do the cutting for me. So we'll continue all the way down to the bottom corner edge of the fabrics. Now I like to do 3/4 of an inch to an inch seam allowance over here because that will cut off the selvage and give me a little bit, about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of seam allowance over here on the side. So we are going to do this slow because we want to make sure that when we get down to the accent band, we're not messing up the serge stitch. Okay, here's the accent band. So once this foot is over the accent band here, then I remove this pin that I had because now we're ready to continue the rest of the pillowcase. Here is the bottom of the accent band. So now that the foot is getting closer, I know that I have a smooth surface for it to go over. I'm going to remove this second clip. All right, so we have a nice edge here on this side. Now, because I've already made sure that the top is all aligned, we are ready to do the bottom seam here. And I'm just going to pull it taut to make sure that it is squared up and it's going to lie flat. And then we are going to, I'm going to go ahead and put binder clips on here just to make sure that the fabric doesn't twist. Now that I have this clip, we're going to do about another 3/4 of an inch seam allowance. All right, we've done all 3 seams. Now we're going to do a little bit of finishing touches so that it looks more professional with these tails. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and repress the sides that I have just recently serged. So the side seam and the bottom seam. I was taught in a quilting class to do that after you sew it and it secures the thread. So that is a practice that I have been doing for all of my sewing. Now that I have it all pressed, I will take this serged in and I'm gonna cut a little bit off of it so it's all even. Then I'm going to take it and thread it through a large-eye hand sewing needle. You can buy those plastic ones at a hobby store, but since I don't have that, I'm going to use one of my metal needles. Now that I have it in my needle, I'm just going to glide it underneath the end, go underneath all these stitches here on the serge edge. Pull it gently through. Oops, I lost the end. But you just pull it like that, and you have a more finished, professional serged edge. Now, I like to put a little bit of fray check here just to make sure that this is in, and then I will cut off the piece here. I'm on my third and final edge here. Put some fray check on it just for extra measure. And I'll do the back side too. Probably because I maybe have OCD in sewing. And then I'm going to cut the edge off. Now we're ready to turn this inside out and see our finished product. Burrito pillowcase. I'm going to take a chopstick and I'm going to go and push these little edges out. Here's a chopstick. Make sure we have nice corners on the bottom. Wonderful. And we got our edges really well over here. I'm going to do one last press. And this pillowcase, we can say, is actually done. Well, can't get any easier than that. 3 seams. Burrito pillowcase on the serger. Super easy, less than 30 minutes. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If so, please consider smashing that like button, notification bell, and subscribe to my channel for future videos and future tutorials. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day and happy sewing.